Let's start today. First of all, you can have a look at the Japanese explanation of Bangladesh at first. で、これは現在の橋名のお父さんね、ラフマン。1975年に暗殺されてる。でこの人が建国の時の立役者なんですよね。で、2015年9月以降だけでも襲撃事件が30件以上あった。アイシルが21件関与している。インドの関係とは悪くない。ただインドとは、領土問題、水資源、不法移民、国境紛争が依然として存在している。報道の自由はない。これバングラデシュってイスラム教国なんですよね。書いてないけど。イスラム教国って基本的に報道自由ないんだよ。で、選挙は一党独裁で、アラーの、あれを従ってるから、自由はないよね、基本的にね。厳しいからね。ここに書いて司法も独立してないって言うけど、やっぱりそうだね。拘束と拷問あるね。選挙一党独裁で国民の声を反映してない。裁判にならない殺害とかあるとか。これ、あと街の中に機関銃を持った警官がいるってのは僕が言ってみてきた。英語を話す人いるけど、わからない。で、後でビデオ出てくる、彼英語で喋ってるけど、彼はやっぱり教育は、海外でやってるからね、綺麗な英語喋ってるけど、大臣はみんな綺麗な英語喋る。で、大した産業はないんですね、ここ。で、1億6000万もいるんですよ。で、BPO をやろうとしてるのね。まだ具体的に。で、次は英語の説明だけど。Democracy is one of the four fundamental principles according to the original 1972 Constitution of Bangladesh. Democracy was introduced in the region through the arrival of the British Raj. British Raj ってのは、インド統治のことを言うんですよね、統治を。The democracy that was introduced was based on the Westminster-style system practiced in United Kingdom. After the independence of Bangladesh in 1971, the constitution was formed in 1972. The constitution had four fundamental principles, which were democracy, nationalism, secularism, and socialism. On 7 June 1975, the President of Bangladesh, Rama, established a one-party state called Bangladesh. So-called Awami League, everybody say Awami League. On 15th August 1975, he was overthrown in a military coup. On 6th December 1990, Muhammad Elshad resigned from his office and restoring democracy in Bangladesh. Restore democracy in Bangladesh. Perhaps beforehand, the military coup, and then after that, 1990, military turned to the democratic government. The country continued to face challenges in the area of poverty, education, healthcare, and corruption. Bangladesh is a middle power and major developing nation. Major, 大きな developing nation. Within South Asia, the country ranks first the gender equality. South Asia は、サウスイーストじゃないから、サウスエイジアだからみんなデベロッピングカントリーばっかね。 They ranked first in gender equality, second in foreign exchange earnings. 初めわかんなかったんだけど、これセコンド in foreign、発展途上国ばかりだから、バングラデシュでセコンド in foreign exchange earnings.And third in life expectancy and peacefulness. そんなことありえないんだけど、アジア全体で考えたら。でもサウスアジアだったらさ、listed as one of the next 11。next 11っていうのは下に説明書いてくる、米投資銀行ゴールドマンサックスを見た。21世紀のね、ブリックス諸国に次いで、21世紀優秀な経済大国。で、11カ国。これ知らなかったんだけど、イラン、インドネシア、イージプト、ターキー、ナイジェリア、パキスタン、バングラデシュ、フィリピン、ビエトナム、メキシコ、コリア、サウスコリア。Next 11って言うんですよ。Its economy ranks 46th in terms of nominal gross domestic product and 29th in purchasing power parity. ね。で、It's one of the largest textile exporters in the world. Its major trading partners are the European Union, United States, China, India, Japan, Malaysia, and Singapore. With its strategically vital location between southern, eastern, and Southeast Asia, Bangladesh is an important promoter of regional connectivity and cooperation.It's a founding member of SAARC, BIMSTEC. I forget that to analyze this, what country are these, but I forget this. The Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar Forum for Regional Cooperation and the Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal Initiative. It's also a member of the Commonwealth of Nations.Developing 8 countries. これは調べたの。Developing 8 countries. And the following. D8, also known as the Developing 8, is the Organization of Development of Cooperation among the following countries. Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Malaysia, Nigeria, Pakistan, Turkey. Very similar to Next 11, right? The establishment D8 was announced officially through the Istanbul Declaration of Summit of Heads of State,Government on June 15th, 1997. And next is the OIC, is Organization of Islamic Conference. And non-aligned movement. non-aligned movement って非同盟運動って、第一次世界大戦の東西冷戦期以降に、東側西側のいずれの陣営にも公式に加盟してない諸国による国際組織で、1961年設立した。これも僕初めて聞いたんだよね。知らなかった。2009年。で、参加国118カ国、オブザーバー18カ国、16カ国。オブザーバー参加組織は8カ国。参加組織で8カ国じゃない。8カ所だね。8だね。国じゃない。参加国16で、オブザーバー参加組織は8だね。多分香港とかそういうことでしょ。ここ3から5年間隔で開催されている非同盟諸国首脳会議のほか、非同盟諸国外国外相会議、常設の非同盟諸国常任委員会とかある。これはノンアラインド。うん ?3 カ国多いですね。118年。ちょっと多すぎだよね。いらないよね、こんなの。何もしてなそうですね。何もしてないよね。それで、戻るとね。The Group of 77って今度まだなんですよ。グループ77とはね、77個グループとは1964年大韓国際連合貿易開発会議 UNCTAD での総会でアジア、アフリカ、ラテンアメリカの開発途上国77国によって形成されたグループで G77 国際連合や関連機関において経済的に立場がに通った開発途上国の発言力強化のために形成されたグループ G グループ77というのがあって、and WTO ね、The World Trade Organization. Bangladesh is one of the largest contribution to United Nations peacekeeping forces ね。 軍隊派遣してる。OK。これが説明のウィキペディアね。で、一番関心のある、一番ケツからちょっと説明したいんだよね。ロヒンヤが先に。あ、これBP後で。ロヒンヤ。これね。ロヒンヤクライシス。バングラデシュ PM Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina is hearts of gold. Bangladesh, one of the world's poorest nations, has seen a massive influx of Rohingya people fleeing brutal violence in Myanmar. The flood of refugees in Bangladesh is a huge challenge given that the country's GDP is just $220 billion and the average annual income of $1,300. Very poor. Yet, the nation has opened the door for helping helpless Rohingyas. 橋名首相、ロヒンギャを全て受けると言っている。立派な対応。で、前はね、ロヒンギャの面倒見れないって、5年前、6年前言ってたんですよ。それが彼女、今回ね、熟成何人も言ったけど、橋名反対でしょうって言ったけど、全然違ってて、彼女は国境まで行って、ロヒンギャを70万の難民に対してね、私は受けますと言った。そういうこと言ったんです、彼女は。これ最初に。
Bangladesh, one of the world's poorest nations, has seen a massive influx of Rohingya people fleeing the brutal violence in Myanmar. As per reports, some 370,000 people have fled in the past few months. For a country that already hosts tens of thousands of Rohingyas who fled the earlier waves of persecution, the flood of refugees into Bangladesh is a huge challenge, given that the country's GDP is just $220 billion and an average annual income of $1,300. Yet the nation has opened its doors for the helpless Rohingyas. The country was prepared for 1 lakh refugees.
1 lakh って10万のことね。
はい。こ
の間インドで言ったでしょ。
For a number way beyond. Amid this air of despair, there is also hope for these homeless Rohingyas.
これ橋のね。
Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has promised to ensure food and shelter to all of them. The Bangladeshi PM said, "We have the ability
これ前の意見と違うんですよ。彼女、考え変えたのね。
to feed 160 million people of Bangladesh, and we have enough food security to feed the additional 7 lakh refugees."
7ラークだから7ラークだから70万。
Visited a struggling refugee camp that has been sheltering hundreds of thousands of Rohingyas who fled recent violence in Myanmar. A crisis, she said, has left her absolutely speechless. Sheikh Hasina also lambasted the British majority in Myanmar.
ランバステ避難ね。これちょっと、なんかさ、あれデバブです。なんであれなんで横に長いんだろう。あ、大きすぎるんだ。あれあ、これがいけないんだ。これだと、ランバスター、こき下ろす、避難するね。
For atrocities that she said had reached a level beyond description. The borderland between Burma and Bangladesh has...
彼女はだから、アウンサースチーを批判してるんですね。
become the site of unimaginable misery and suffering. Lakhs of Rohingya Muslims have fled to Bangladesh from Burma's Rakhine state with nothing but swords on their backs to escape what many international observers say is a scorched earth campaign led by the Burmese military to drive away
スコーチって有名でスコーチオペレーションって言った。衝動作戦の皆殺しね。
the Muslim minority from the country. Indiscriminate killing, systematic rape, the burning of entire towns, Rohingya Muslims have seen it all.
かなり分かってるね、そのロヒンギャ。
Despite the evidence, the Burmese military and government say they are not targeting civilians, but rather a group of terrorists. India is planning to deport these refugees
インディアはね、受けないっつって。
by saying that they pose a security threat to our country. But those who are themselves struggling for survival, what potential harm can they bring? That's all for now. For more news and updates, please subscribe to One India News YouTube channel.
でこれが柱の意見で、what he said is he's only applied for the pride of Bangladesh to supporting Rohingya. It's the other way is I'm going to explain the Aung San Suu Kyi. Very recently, 10 or 15 hours before, and Aung San Suu Kyi first national speech on Rohingya. 10 or 50 hours before. After weeks of condemnation, Myanmar's leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, has finally made her first national speech on the violence against Rohingya Muslims in her country. Over the past 3 weeks, more than 400,000, currently 700,000 Rohingya have escaped unrest, which was sparked by a military crackdown in Rohingya state. Rakhine state. ね、逃げてる。これ逃げてる。極めてまずい。これちょっと見て。だから、橋名はね、今回だから、すごく前のビデオを見せた方がよかったな。うん。前のビデオアップしといた方がいいかもね。これは。
君も今日したのかな?
After intense pressure, Aung San Suu Kyi finally
これアクセス多いんですよ、きっと。
addressed the Rohingya refugee crisis. But in her most anticipated speech since becoming Myanmar's leader, she avoided criticizing the actions of the military, something the UN calls textbook ethnic cleansing.
textbook ethnic cleansing なんだっけ民族浄化
It is not the intention of the Myanmar government to apportion
intention of Myanmar government
blame or
apportion blame
to abnegate responsibility.
abnegation 放棄ね responsibility 責任放棄ね
We condemn all human rights violations
We condemn all human rights violations
and
and
unlawful violence.
unlawful violence. We are committed to
To the
restoration of peace, stability,
and
rule of law
throughout the state.
throughout the state. So what? So what? ね So what?
Her address lacked the specifics on
Her address lacks the specifics ね on how to end and even ease the unfolding.
on her country's border with Bangladesh.
解決策何も言ってないわけですよ。
Nor did she offer definitive explanations of what took place in Rakhine's
No offer definitive explanation of what took place in
state over the last 4
mankind
weeks.
state. mankind のラクヒンステートでしょ over the last 4 weeks.
We want to find out why this exodus is happening.
Hmm?
We would like to talk to those who have fled as well as to those who have stayed.
ナンセンスだよ、こんなこと言ってね。
I think it is very little known that the great majority
ベリーリトルの、わからないよ。
of Muslims in the Rakhine State have not joined the exodus.
have not joined the exodus でしょ。半分逃げちゃって、もうほとんど逃げちゃってる。100万人なんだよね。ラクヒンステートに。その70万人がもうバングラデシュに逃げてるのに、she said have not joined the exodus. 出国。要するに、これはイスラエル、ユダヤ人の、が、ユダヤから逃げるの、イスラエルから逃げるのをエクソダス。ね？
But over 410,000 have fled, and
これは410というか700も700,000。
210 Muslim villages were burned down, according
210 Muslim villages were burned down.
to Human Rights Watch.
彼女知ってるんだよ、これ。こうなって。
But she chose to focus on the villages that were not attacked.
were not attacked.
More than 50% of the villages of
More than 50% of villages of Muslims
Muslims are intact.
are intact. 無償のままで。are intact.
They are as they were before the attacks took
ね。They are as they were before the attack
place.
took place.
And we would like to know why. This is what I think we have to work towards. Not just looking at the problems, but also
Not just looking at the problem, but also
looking at those areas
look at areas
where there are no problems.
where there are no problem. サンドビッチでしょ？
She asked for international assistance on the situation and pledged access to some of the areas impacted from the latest violence. But to some, the speech fell well short, saying it didn't properly address the immediacy of the crisis and that her speech might lead to further condemnation of how she's handling the situation.
When you say the international community,
この人ね、日本のね、日経アジアレビューのね、記者。彼女非難してる。
the NGOs and others, and also just the general buzz from
これね、日経アジアレビューのね、チーフエディター。
media commentators, individuals. I think there's some level of outrage. They wanted
アウトレイジ、怒りね。
more. They wanted a direct, if not apology, some kind of acknowledgement of the enormity, the
some kind of acknowledgement of the enormity. 深刻さね、enormity。そういう認識を示してほ
scale
し
of human misery we've
い。
seen
human misery ね。
in the past few weeks.
But some diplomats who attended the speech said
これはね、ロシアのね、記者
As a first step, I think it was a good speech.
グッドスピーチだって言ってるの、こいつ。バカだよ。ニコライ・リストパドフとか。これはね、ロシアンね、ちょっと見えない、アンバサダー。ロシアアンバサダー。ミャンマーのロシア大使だ。
Message to the international
ミャンマーとロシア関係ないよね。
community, because I'm sure that further steps will follow.
Aung San Suu Kyi repeated the phrase peace and harmony many times in her speech.
Okay.
But if there's no progress of relief for those suffering in refugee camps who fled from her country, the situation could get a lot worse. And that idea of peace and harmony might become even farther away. Scott Haber, Al Jazeera.
だから彼女言ってるのね、まあ、アホみたいなの言ってるわけですよ。ね？それでね、これね、さっきもそうだっけな。これかで、これでね、これかな。あ、これね、これ見ないといけない。
Now, the Bangladeshi Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, has told Al Jazeera that Muslim refugees fleeing violence in Myanmar are not her problem.
なんでこれやるかっていうとね、2012年なの。うん。違うこと言ってるのかも。
Problem. Our Dhaka correspondent recently reported on refugee camps in Bangladesh and found 300,000 Rohingya living in appalling conditions. Sheikh Hasina says her country can't take any more refugees.
ということはさ、2012年にさ、30万人がね、住んでたんですよ、ロヒンギャが。バングラデシュに。ひどいとこに住んでるでしょ
So why?
It is up to their government. So you should put pressure or you should talk to the Myanmar government, not to Bangladesh. It is not the Bangladesh people. It's responsibility, right?
バングラデシュ責任ないです。
These are people in a desperate humanitarian situation, and surely there are basic principles, human principles, moral principles that compel you to help them.
Bangladesh is already an overpopulated country.
ほら。Already overpopulated country.
We cannot bear this burden. You should realize that. But now things are okay. Things are improving. So no refugees coming.
But in the last 2 months, we've seen the pictures ourselves. Bangladeshi guards physically turning people back, returning them to danger.
Listen. Bangladeshi guards, they behave humanitarianly. They provided food for them, medicine for them, they provided money, and they just allowed them to return to their own homes.
Yeah? Allow them to return to their home.
Not allow, they force them to
No,
return
it is
home.
not true. They didn't force them. Rather, they pursue them that you should go back to your own country.
まあ、強制しないけどね。
And they went back.
Prime Minister, you know full well that they are being persecuted in their own country. They tried to run away, and they're refused entry to your country.
Well, why we should allow to enter our country? We just pursued them, and we provided them everything what they needed. Why you asking me this question? You should ask this question to the Myanmar government. It is not our responsibility. It is.
It's not our responsibility.
Their responsibility.
It's their responsibility.
No one is blaming Bangladesh for the situation.
But why
in
Bangladesh?
State.
Why Bangladesh?
What we are saying is you are evading your responsibilities.
Listen,
to
any citizen from any country try to enter your country. Do you take them or do you provide refugee status? In England, I'm talking about England. If anybody comes here, do you give them refugee status? You don't, right?
If they are eligible for it, if they're being persecuted.
If they are eligible, yes, that is the point.
Well, they are being persecuted. You don't deny that, do you?
Look, I told you that it is the responsibility of Myanmar government.
And have you ever expressed concern to the government of Myanmar about how the Rohingya are treated in Rakhine province?
Of course we do.
And what do they say?
Well, they are creating congenial atmosphere, they are providing all the assistance, everything.
Do you actually believe that?
Yes, why not?
Do you think the Rohingya are treated fairly in Rakhine province?
I told you that it is their citizen.
だからこれだから、私の知ったことじゃないって言うのね。ロヒン、ラクヒンプロビンスでね、何されてるのか。私の人じゃない。
So, it is up to them. How they will treat with the citizen.
What?
How
they will treat with the citizen.
I have no right to.
I have no right to
poke my nose.
ね。
In the internal affairs of any country.
でこう言ってるわけですよ。
Bangladeshi Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina has told Al Jazeera that Muslim.
こう言ってるわけだ。これはだからね。どこだっけ。でここにね。あれここにこれ入れとかなきゃいけないんですよ。そうしないとわからないストーリーが。あれ これやっとけばさ、
はい。
ハシナがどうやって考え変わったかってわかるでしょ？これ貼っとけばね。
なんで変わったんですか？
いや、それだけど、エスニッククレンジングって、虐殺だから。それはいくらなんでも、どこのプライムミニスターも、それは認めない。だから、いかにアウンサースーキーがアホかって。彼女相当アホですよ、これ。だから、何考えてんだお前みたいな。あ、これ長えな。どうしよう。新しいイベント、ムーブメント、あ、違う、ここまでだ。これをやっておけば、わかるでしょ。OK。で、これで、おかしいな、これでいいでしょ。ね。OK。で、これで、まず今の、橋名首相の態度をね。彼女だからすごいですよね。そういうの。で、戻ってね。一番冒頭にね。これ説明して。これはね、このビデオはね、Does Bangladesh have an ISIL problem? 最初にこっち、日本の方に読むと、2013年来バングラデシュとイスラム原理主義者による襲撃やフェスタで攻撃の対象は宗教的、少数は世俗的な愛しもブロガーが殺されたらいっぱい。ブロガー。LGBT の権利を求める運動する活動家です。ラジカルではないイスラム教徒なども広がる。殺されてるんですよ。はい。で、2015年9月以降。結局、アイシルの例、イスラム原理主義って厳しい。うん。イスラム教でしょだから、緩いイスラム教徒を殺しちゃってるんですよね。こうした襲撃事件が30件以上あったと言われている。アイシルはこれらの21件について関与。だからレストラン襲撃地表テロとしてるよね。2016年7月に。バングラデシュのダッカの外交関係施設で。で、グルシャン地区、ホーリーアーティザンバークレーっていうなんかレストランだな。武装した7人が襲撃して、いっぱい死んだんだよね。ジャイカの方が7人死んだでしょ。で、それがあって、OK, so this is a video kind of. In recent months, Bangladesh has seen a surge in attacks on Shia mosques and Christian priests, all claimed by ISIL. As authorities try to tackle the growing domestic threat that the country have an ISIL problem, and after several bloggers inside the country were hacked to death for expressing secular views, what is the future of democracy and human rights in the country? In a specific interview, Hassan speaks to Bangladesh State Minister for Foreign Affairs Alam, Sharia Alam, who defends the country's young democracy. He speaks good English. It's different from normal Bangladesh people. This one already existed. This one? Oh yeah, this one.
As Bangladeshi authorities try to tackle a growing domestic threat. Bloggers inside the country have been hacked to death for expressing secular views. Earlier I sat down with Bangladesh's Deputy Foreign Minister, Sharia Alam, and began by asking,
声がちっちゃいの。
as Bangladeshi authorities try to tackle a growing domestic threat possibly from ISIL, is the country heading down a quote-unquote extremist path?
コートンコートって例えば、いわゆる、ごめん。いわば。
Atheist bloggers inside the country have been hacked to death for expressing secular views. Earlier I sat down with Bangladesh's Deputy Foreign Minister,
The same sentence I just explained before, right?
Sharia Alam, and began by asking him how he explains the barbaric killings of the bloggers to a shocked outside world.
We do condemn those attacks.
これアラームね。
And out of the 6 attacks and 6 killings took place, government has unwrapped and completed investigation in 4 of them. And out of those 4, 3 of those killers confessed. They have made confessional statement to the police. So we have unearthed those people. But, it's a very sensitive issue in Bangladesh. Freedom of speech, and at the same time, people do not have religious sentiment of people. You need to start that time.
僕は発言の自由はないって言ったけど、ムスリム国だからね。それは自由諸国に比べたら、やっぱり制限あるわけですよね。
Balance. And that's what
But in striking that line balance, some say that you send mixed messages to core human rights. They say you sent mixed messages on this group. On the one hand, yes, you have condemned the killing, investigated them. On the other hand, you seem to have suggested that the bloggers were partly at fault for their own death. They should have self-censored. Your Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, said in 2013 to party members that she would take action against those responsible online for hurting people's religious sentiment.
Yes, true, she said that.
So are you creating a climate in which people think
we
can attack these people?
No, we are not.
In fact, you arrested 4 of those bloggers under blasphemy.
彼らなんか政府が、こういうブロガーを逮捕してるみたいね。ブラスフェミーって冒涜ね。神の冒涜。だから、ブロガー逮捕してるのは要するに、イスラム教に反することを言ってからブラスフェミー、ローに基づいて逮捕してるね。
Yes. You have to understand. 160 million people in Bangladesh, and 93 or 94% of them are practicing Muslim. We cannot have a Charlie Hebdo in Bangladesh,
チャーリー・ヘブドってのは例のイスラム戯曲をさ、書いてパリのあれで殺されたでしょ？チャーリー・ヘブドって。うん。殺されたんですよ、イスラム教にパリで。なんだっけ、ムハンマドを侮辱した、殺されちゃった。だから彼が言ってるのはね、We can't have a Charlie Hebdo in Bangladesh. そういうふうにこう冒涜する人は、ブラスフェミーをする人は逮捕されますよ。
That's for France. That's for a democracy work. 500 years old or 150 years old. In Bangladesh, it's a new country, new democracy. The country itself, really part of Pakistan.
But maybe the Prime Minister encourage.
No. We do encourage that. That's why you see the number of television channels, the new licenses that we issues are over 30. The number of newspaper in Dhaka itself is over 1,000. We have about 30 odd FM radio stations. And we have regular talk shows where governments are getting criticized.
彼何言ってるかというと、デモクラシーだって言いたいんです。
And those are very popular shows also. We do have that tolerance from the government side, but at the same time, we need to save the people's sentiment. When it comes to religion.
But will you actually crack down on people who incite hatred and violence against people?
We're doing it.
While also locking them up under blasphemy?
No, if they do, but we have genuine cases.
Okay. You said that on the ground, in the investigations we've carried out, we did not get any evidence of ISIL links as yet in Bangladesh, and that you do not think any terrorist or groups such as ISIL would ever gain permanent or semi-permanent ground in Bangladesh. Yet ISIL itself says it has revived, quote, jihad in Bengal. They say they have a regional leader in place in Bangladesh. They've claimed responsibility for recent, rather unprecedented attacks on Shia mosques in your country.
Okay, in Bangladesh, it's true, we do not have IS or ISIL. But what we do
だからもちろん政府はね、IS とは関係してない。
have are sympathizers who were there under the government sponsorship during the BNP Jamaat regime. We know the 500 bombs went off at the same time. We know the attacks that took place in the High Commission of England.
So were they all ISIL sympathizers?
Quite a few of them are. The current investigation that's carrying on, but we haven't found any direct linkage. They probably believe in same ideology, but they do not have any exchange or any communication.
まあ、要するに IS とは関係ないわけですよ。
There's no formal presence.
Oh yeah. Let me get very clear. Whether it's IS or not, whether ISIL or Mujahideen Islam or Bangla.
ムジャヒディンってなんていうの、ISIL の元々最初のね、アルカイダの前の、まだいるんだけど、ムジャヒディンってね。
そんな前ですか？
うん。説明が書いてない。
High or whatever the other names that came up. The government of Sheikh Hasina is determined, and we have a zero tolerance policy, and that's one of the big successes of Sheikh Hasina's government in the last 7 years in that region.
Some say that Sheikh Hasina is opening the door to ISIL with some of her policies. In fact, General James Clapper, Director of National Intelligence in the United States, Director of National Intelligence for President Obama, said a few weeks ago in Congress, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's continuing efforts to undermine the political opposition in Bangladesh will probably provide openings for transnational terrorist groups to expand their
これだからアメリカ政府はね、テロリストをバングラデシュが支援してる。
presence in the country. That's pretty damning from the head of US intelligence.
We talked about it. We do not agree with Mr.
反対してでしょ？
Clapper had to say. That's for him and his government to decide. But we have raised our concern that we do not accept that comment. But what I'm
We
saying
do not accept the comment ね。
is the Sheikh Hasina's stance against terrorism has paid off in the last 7 years. We have fantastic
How's it paid off when there's never been an attack on a Shia mosque and suddenly there's 2 in a row in 2015? How is that paying off?
Yes, but
sounds like terror violence on the rise.
It's not Pakistan or Afghanistan where you have.
But you're on that road, is the worry. That's what General Clapper's saying.
Those bombs, if you analyze them from security point of view, those are Molotov cocktail, homemade, domestic-made small bombs, and we do not have any possibility in Bangladesh. I'll give you this perspective. 160 million people in 55,000 square miles makes Bangladesh by far the most densely populated country on earth. Yeah, they do not have any hideout. They cannot have any safe haven for a dozen of terrorists to get organized in one place. The small teapots, any villages where they have organized themselves to have a local meeting. I'm talking about the local those groups, supported by Jamaat Islam as a terrorist organization. Police turn up and got them arrested in every occasion. So we have done that part.
Thanks for joining me on that front.
Thank you very
よ
much.
く終わりだ。まあそういうことで、まあ、彼はだから、まあもちろん政府がテロを支援してないし、いろんなそのデモクラシーの番組とかね、自由にやれるよって言ってるけど、実際にはここで言ってるように、ブラスフェミーっていう冒涜罪で逮捕したりして殺されてる人たちの対象者と。そういうことあるから愛すると関係あるんじゃないのって話したけど、まあそんなこと絶対ないよって話をして。まあ、安全ではない。それから、次は、バングラデシュデモクラシー at risk from extremist。これはね、バングラデシュ民主主義を歩んでいるイスラム国では GDP も小さくテロもあり、国家が安定しているわけじゃないけど、民主主義国として今後期待される国家だって言ってるけど。This brief commentary argues that Bangladesh can be a model democracy for Muslim nations, seeking pathway to democracy. But recent act of violence may derail that dream. It invites more responsible leadership from Bangladesh. これ短いビデオですね。短いビデオで。4分ぐらいかな。
News out of Bangladesh is really, really shocking these days. Just last 1 week, a professor was killed on the bus stops. Two activists of the LGBT community were hacked to death. And
これ、もうさっきの同じだよね。
that bloggers and other secular activists have been killed and beaten to death, etc., are constantly coming in from Bangladesh. It's very, very shocking. Not many people have thought of Bangladesh as a model, but for many years I have considered Bangladesh as a model for the rest of the Muslim world to emulate. For example, Bangladesh, which is perhaps the youngest Muslim country in the world, in 1971, was born as a liberal democracy. Bangladesh
He said, born as a liberal democracy って言ってんだけどね。
has debunked many of the political science.
ディバンクってことよく使うんだけど、正体は暴くっていうのが、はっきりさせる。
Theories and ideological positions that many people hold. For example, some Muslims and many Western scholars have argued for a long time that Islam and democracy was incompatible. And the fact that Bangladesh was a Muslim democracy tended to counter that claim. There was this argument by many people that Islamic societies are misogynic and women are
ミソジニーって女性嫌悪。
marginalized and women have no role to play.
マージナライズをのけものにする。
But women have been central in Bangladeshi politics.
でも、うちはそうじゃないよ、バングラデシュはね。もちろん女性、そうやってるくらい。
There have been elections in Bangladesh where no matter who gets elected, a woman will be head of the government. And so Bangladesh debunked that idea also that women in Muslim societies are powerless and on the margins. There are those who argue that democracy can only thrive in societies which are prosperous and have healthy middle classes. For example, people who want to save the Arab Spring experiment in Tunisia argue that if the West doesn't pump in billions of dollars and revive and resuscitate the economy, democracy will die, sort of giving credence to the assumption that prosperity is necessary for democracy. But Bangladesh, one of the poorest countries in the world, has remained more or less a democracy throughout its history, also debunking the idea that prosperity is necessary for democratization. So in that sense, Bangladesh was a model. It debunked the notions of women's marginality, it debunked the notions of the relationship between prosperity and democracy. It also showed that Muslims are capable of establishing not just democracies, but pluralistic democracies.
プルラリスティックって多元的なっていうか、いろんな宗教を受け入れるっていうね。
And the religious tensions between the minority Hindus, who are about 10 to 12% of Bangladesh, and the majority Muslims are not as exaggerated. For example, if you compare to Egypt, where 10% of the population is Christian and 90% is Muslim.
エジプトはクリスチャン迫害してるからね。
So in that sense, Bangladesh
なんて言ったっけね、クリスチャンのことね、エジプトはね、なんて言ったかな。キリスト教の派閥、オプト教かな。
was on the right track, politically speaking. They just had to get the economic act together. But the news that is coming out of Bangladesh in the past few years makes me fear that yet another stabilizing and positively transitioning Muslim democracy might become stable. I beseech political voices in Bangladesh
ビシッって強く求める。
and intellectuals in Bangladesh to recognize the danger of partisan politics, to recognize the danger of high decibel ideological statements condemning each other. And I want them to recognize and value the wonderful things that they have had so far and try and ensure that Bangladesh democracy not only sustains itself but still moves forward so that it can also become a model for Muslim countries which are seeking self-governance and seeking some pathway to democracy can look up to. So Bangladesh, get your act together.
ちょっとまあ正直言って、その彼が言ってる、そのなんていうかな。まあ確かにそのデモクラシーの方向に行くにしても、まあ、イスラム教が国教であるから、まあ完全なデモクラシーはありえないんだけど、彼が言ってることはあながち嘘でもない。
イスラム教って何が反するんですか？民主主義と。
イスラム教と民主主義の話すのはね、イスラム教って例えば、女性が例えばサウジアラビアって運転できない。それからあと貫通罪って、死刑になったり。それからあと女性がこう、なんていうの、スカーフを被らなくちゃいけない。顔出しちゃいけない。出したら、そんな、男尊女子で。男女分。こう、だから、彼言ったのは、バングラデシュは女性がね、総理になるくらいだから、だから、デモクラシーだって言ったけど、実際にはもっともっと、イスラム、シャリアローって非常に厳しいんですよ、法律が。だからそういうのがあって、それがだから司法よりもイスラム教徒の方が優先するんですよね。でそれがやっぱり、言論の自由とか人権問題とか。例えば、男女同権なんかないからね。イスラム教。そういう意味では民主主義と一緒します。で次のやつはまさしくそれを話してて、報道の自由はない、選挙に登録され、国の声を反映しない、司法も独立しない、裁判ではない殺害とか、本当にない、公訴拷問がある。今はこうして民主主義ではないが、人を経度してこうした政府の体制を抗議し、どうあるべきかを提案し続けることが重要である。というのは、Bangladesh have never been a place for freedom or place and democracy. ね。different opinion, compared with the former one. Asian Human Rights Commission, HARC, interviewed Bangladesh journalist Mr. Nurul Kabir, editor, New Age, on 20th November 2014. Mr. Kabir spoke about Bangladesh's democracy and rule of law situation in this interview. 全然違う。今と違うオピニオンね。待ってね、これ。またこれ。これいいかな。
As a senior journalist, how do you see the freedom of press, in particular, and the freedom of opinion and...
彼の意見は、だからさっきの前の人とだいぶ違うのね。フリーダムオピニオンとか、エクスプレッションもない。
The expression of the people at large in your country.
Bangladesh, as a state, constitutionally guarantees the freedom of expression, subject
We don't expression
to some restrictions, legally imposed restrictions. But in practice, Bangladesh has never been a place since its birth in 1971, an ideal place for truly independence of press, freedom of expression and opinion. Over the last more than 4 decades, there is no truly democratically oriented government in place.
No, truly.
So, all undemocratic governments, be it elected or unelected, be it civilian or it military, the first thing what they do is to try to suppress the public opinion so that there
それはサプレス、抑圧ね。
There's no organized resistance getting shelled among the people. And no consensus has been built among the people against the repressive rules and regimes and autocratic behavior of the government.
オートクラティックで先制的な。
Today, particularly after the farcical national elections held in January this year, which was not contested by any opposition political parties, the government has proved itself to be an organization which is totally isolated from the people. Any government on earth, when isolated from the people, gets repressive. And first attack they resort to is the public opinion, the freedom of press. As under the circumstances, the journalists have been intimidated directly and indirectly by the government agencies, by the hoodlums. Some television channel has been closed down. Newspaper editors have been arrested. I myself have been subject to different kinds of intimidation many times. The positive thing is, despite this kind of government repression, there are journalists, there are civil society activists who still protest, of course.
まあ、その、政府が抑圧しても、抵抗運動がね、やってこの人なんかあれだよね、きっと、さっきの人と違って、この人はジャーナリストで、反政府系のなんていうの、活動家みたいな人だね。
As well as the dignity of their own. But there is a struggle between the government, between the state, and the democratically oriented sections of the people, particularly among the intellectuals.
Please tell us about the public justice system of Bangladesh, especially in terms of ability and commitment of justice institutions to protect the citizens from crimes like torture, and to also provide justice in cases involving ordinary criminals.
Public justice system, if you talk about this issue from the people's interest point of view, it has never developed. There are attempts, there are demands, there are talks about this. There are theoretical separation of power in Bangladesh, but public justice system has particularly been criminalized by the ruling class parties, the successive governments. As regards public justice, the poor people are the most dangerous victims of what I should say, that the miscarriage of justice.
Miscarriage of justice.
Because public justice system itself is expensive. Justice system is criminal.
まあ裁判高いって言ってんだよね、費用が。
Lies. And there are rampant tortures in police custodies. There are now
トーチャーがあるって言うんだよね。
hundreds of cases of enforced disappearance.
Hundreds of cases of enforced disappearance. どっか行っちゃった。
Judicial murder.
あと、エクストラジュディシャルは裁判しない。
Are still there, but I don't see still the police, those and rapid action battalion, which we called, notoriously been called RAB, and other agencies who take people in the name of disciplining them, get disappeared. And there are a lot of people, those who have lost their husbands, brothers, they have not been meted out justice. Police will not take, will not register the cases. Courts have, if there is no case, court cannot do anything. There are some public litigation cases. Government has been asked to stop extrajudicial murder, but government in the first instance do not admit that they are conducting extrajudicial killings. So there's
extrajudicial killing 裁判経ないでね。
It's a mess in terms of public justice system. So again, there are voices still in the society. We're talking about it. A lot of discussions have been taking place. And this is one of the reasons why we often see the government agencies are out to intimidate the voices who tries to mobilize public opinion against this kind of criminalized public justice system, and the state actors like police and RAB conducting enforced disappearance and carrying out extrajudicial murders. So they try to intimidate the public process.
How is the political leadership of both the ruling party and the opposition parties affecting the independence and professionalism of the criminal justice system in Bangladesh?
Well, when the political parties or the powers that be resort to ruling the country in violation of democratic ideals, democratic norms, they cannot afford to ensure justice because they are the main agents at the helm of the state affairs.
State.
Who presided over the miscarriage of justice system. In that case, it's only natural for them to not to even worry about that, and perpetually one thing that they do is to claim that everything is okay while there is nothing okay, and the ruling class people belonging to the opposition or the ruling party are the beneficiary of the state system, and the rest of the people are victim of their benefit. In that case, when they preside over.
これはっきりしないから単語拾えないのがあるんだよね。
This kind of organs, you can hardly expect that justice delivery system will eventually benefit the people at large.
So, to be clear, you're saying that the justice system doesn't serve the people, but it's serving the ruling elites.
This is a system created by the elite, run by the elite, and the elites are getting benefit out of it.
もうこれはアジアみんなどこもそうだよね。一般大衆のための裁判制度ちゃんとしてるとこないよね。シンガポールはそうだけど。
Hardly people can claim that they can get justice from the state or any branch of the state. And there are examples that violence is there in the public life, and many psychologists and sociologists claim that people at times take laws in their hands because they do not have faith in the institutionalized public justice system.
実際、フィリピンなんか、ドゥテルトはね、麻薬の犯罪者いっぱい殺してるけど、無実の人もいっぱい殺しちゃってるよね。
Their regime changes the prosecutors and the state attorneys when it assumes power. What do they use to justify doing it?
Well, since different regimes over the past tries to control the justice delivery system to favor their own political activists, or to not to be punished by their own criminal activities. So they need their own people to be presiding over different state organs, including the judicial system. So when they have their own people, they get some privileges out of the law, and every regime takes lessons, the negative lessons from the previous regime, and they continue to do it.
What is the impact of the latest two constitutional amendments, the 15th and the 16th Amendment of the Constitution of Bangladesh, from the standpoint of people's right to justice and democratization?
Well, these are scandalous, because in one of the amendments to the Constitution, the voting rights, particularly the instrument of garnering general opinion, general will of the people that the Constitution guarantees, has been snatched away, because there was a provision for a referendum of the people which is the fundamental thing in a democratic dispensation, in that in case of any changes, people will have the last say, and they will give approval or disapproval directly through their vote. This, in one of the amendments, this has been done well with. It's only to make sure that the parliamentarians who are supposed to make law under the Constitution can also change the Constitution itself. Because again, that the political authorities try to control the judiciary in their favor is evident in one of the constitutional amendments that has been made by the parliamentaries. Earlier, there was a system that if there is any complaint against any judge for misconduct or their incompetence, this was to be seen and judged and given recommendations by Judicial Council. It was an independent Judicial Council headed by the head of the highest judicial institution called Appellate Division of the Supreme Court. The government, although many of the judges are being already sympathetic to the government or the incumbents, they are not ready to even give faith on the on the previous system. So what they have done has taken it into the hands of the government, of the executive, of the parliament, meaning the politicians who hardly represent the people in general.
彼らは政府と議会が、要するに、一般大衆じゃなくて、その政府に対してつるんでるっていうようなことを言ってんだよね、きっと。
To take actions against the,
前言ったジュディシャルもそうだけど、結局政府の顔見てやってるっていうことを言ってんだよね。
And just this has been seriously criticized by the thinking sections of our people, because the purpose of the change of this law, the constitutional provision, is very clear that Parliament want to control the judiciary, meaning they are acting against the democratic principles of separation of power, that judiciary, Parliament, and executive should.
彼ってジュディシャリーとパーラメント、エグゼクティブっていうのは政府ね。三権分立してないよって言ってる。
Interdependent, but all of them are free to work independently.
ね。
So they are carving it, wanting to control the.
みんなつるんでるから。
What are the priorities for establishing people's fundamental rights and for ensuring protection from torture and injustice in Bangladesh?
Priorities, if you talk about from the government's point of view, I don't think that the government has any headache, or even the previous government has any headache at all, to make sure that people get justice and the institutions get better. So those who are among the people, thinking sections of the citizens, conscious sections of the citizen, consensus sections of the citizen, should have, I rather say, the priority to make sure that state is accountable and to mobilize public opinion to make sure, to make the government, state authorities to accountable. For that to happen, you need a lot of discussions, a lot of debates, a lot of painstaking consensus building process among the people. And because in the countries like ours, in South Asian countries, in general, I must say, that no government does anything democratic until unless they are put under continuous public pressure. So I believe that the priorities for the civil society actors, media, intelligentsia, should be to mobilize public opinion for democratizing the society, for democratizing the state, and thus pave the way for democratic transformation of the society and the state.
Regarding any of the questions we've asked, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
Well, we know that in our society and the South Asian societies, they're undergoing a lot of difficulties, a lot of undemocratic rules, and been subjected to torture, to miscarriage of justice, poverty, etc. But still, I believe that eventually people will win, because in all these countries, side by side with the state repression, state injustice. There are movements in some places, already significant, in some places it's going to be significant, movements and social demand for justice, social demand for poverty eradication, social demand for democratic transformation of this family, state and society. So I'm hopeful that if the people continue to protest that, eventually it is the people that we...
まあ彼言ってるのは、まあ、要するに、この国はだからエリートが全部支配しててね、で人民がやっぱりこう無視されちゃってるんで、それをやっぱりその政府についても三権分立も全然できてないし、やっぱりそれを、民主主義に向かって、我々ジャーナリストは一生懸命諦めないで頑張りましょうみたいな、そんな話だね。うん、まあ、日本の共産党みたいな感じがしなくはないけど。うん、ちょっと、まあ、英語はっきりしない。
言ってるだけの感じです。
え？
言ってるだけの感じです。
そうだね。まあ、まあ、ニュートラルではないね。Person of Interest, Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister of Bangladesh。これはね、バングラデシュのね、ハシナの歴史で、これちょっと読んでくれる？親父が死んで。で、彼女のこの、今までの生い立ちとか、はい、親父のラフマンの歴史。
家族殺された時に、この娘のハシナはいなかった？
いや、これはどうだったかな。この、バングラデシュかね、結構いっぱい殺されてんだよね。この時はどうだった大抵でも生き残ってるのはね、はい、海外留学してるとかね、そういうケース。あとみんな殺されちゃって。ハシナはどうだったかなわかんない。インドもそうだよね。インドの場合は、親子で暗殺されてるよね。南アジアはね、殺されてる人いっぱいいるんだよね。
On 23rd of June 1996, an unscheduled special program began to play on Bangladesh's state television. To the disbelief of millions of Bangladeshis, the program prominently featured Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the man who had once been known as the liberator of Bangladesh, the man whose entire family...
これさ、アジアって南アジアってさ、ほとんど世襲なんだよね。議員が。だから、 まあなんかよくわかるような気がするよ。親父がなって、娘が首相になってもさ、殺されちゃうんだよね。結構だから彼らはさ、シリアスなんだよね。
Two daughters had been gunned down in a coup. For 21 years, Sheikh Mujib had been depicted as a monster, and every effort was made to literally obliterate his name from history books. What changed that fateful day was that his daughter had taken over as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Mujib's daughter had a country to win over when she fought the elections. She had been waiting 15 years for the people of Bangladesh to once again vote in an Awami League government. Since then, she has been Prime Minister of her country 3 times. And she is now one of the most important female Muslim leaders in the world. A steadfast friend of India, she is currently on a visit here. Our person of interest this week is Sheikh Hasina Wajid, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh.
এবারে সংগ্রাম আমাদের মুক্তির সংগ্রাম এবারে সংগ্রাম স্বাধীনতার সংগ্রাম
Like her father's, Hasina's connection with India was one forged by political necessity. If Mujib took asylum in India to fight the tyranny of West Pakistan over East Pakistan, Hasina took refuge when her entire family got wiped out. 6 years she spent in Delhi before she returned home to try and change the path Bangladesh had taken when the coup killed her father.
インドにいたんだ。
Protocol was sent by Indira Gandhi to Germany to bring back Hasina because in her estimation there was a political vacuum after Sheikh Mujib's assassination. There was no one else to, hold the reins of the party, hold the party together, and because Ziaur Rahman was riding roughshod over Awami League, was killing, left, right, and center all its grassroots level leaders. So Indira Gandhi wanted Hasina to, get back to Bangladesh. In the meantime, she should be in Delhi and prepare herself for the task that lay ahead of her, and that she wanted her to finish the unfinished task of her father. She was then just a shy, homebound housewife, very reticent and very, very hospitable, and all the Awami League leaders who came to India would make a beeline for Delhi, would visit Pandara Road, her flat, and Dr. Wajid was given a job by Mrs. Gandhi.
As Prime Minister, Hasina is recognized by the international community as being behind uplifting.
これ僕大臣、外務大臣とか通産大臣に一緒に講演やったけど、結構な玉だったよ。結構優秀だったよ。だからね、この人すごい。息子会ってないけど、息子はね、シンガポールのリー・シェンロンみたいな男だ。わかんない。できるかどうか。
Bangladesh's image.
大臣はね、なかなかの玉だ。
With strengthening the ties with Bangladesh's neighbors, and she's seen as a leader who is leading her country out of economic despair.
大臣はみんな綺麗な英語喋る。
Sheikh Hasina is credited with patching up ties with India.
こういう国ってさ、人で持ってんだよね、トップの。
We've had with Khalid Azia's Bangladesh Nationalist Party. Both economically, there's better.
さっきの彼氏がさ、エリートのための政治って言ってるでしょ、当たり前だよ、エリートが国やってんだ。エリートのための政治とかエリートのためにやって、一般大衆を無視してるけど、一般大衆無視してるんだ。意図的に。彼らがやってんの。少数のトップエリートが。
Total trade than ever before, and politically, where Hasina has definitely.
日本って平均的な国民じゃない。
India and Bangladesh have been considerably close, both historically and culturally. The role that India played in the Bangladesh Liberation War of 1971 is inseparable from the country's history. Despite that, the last 46 years have not been spent entirely in neighborly bonhomie. There have been a number of setbacks. Time and again, disputes over territory, water sharing rights, illegal immigration, cross-border insurgency, and terrorism have dogged the relations. Bangladesh has even accused India of having a big brotherly attitude towards it, while India accused Bangladesh of acting against Indian interests by giving sanctuary to insurgents active in its northeastern region.
She is her own person. She is much like her father. Both are fiercely independent.
Except for a small southeastern slip of land, Bangladesh is surrounded by India on 3 sides and by the sea on the 4th. Sheikh Hasina may well be aware of the importance of India, but she has never allowed her country's friendship to be taken for granted, nor to be dismissed as being of no consequence. And that is where lies the strength of this Prime Minister of Bangladesh. Recently, she turned down India's request for a 25-year defense treaty. But no one can argue that a government has gone more than the extra mile to help India. It cracked down on militants, on fake currency coming into India. It allowed easy transit to the northeast.
The way she has handed over the Ulfa leaders, the Tripura insurgent leaders and others, by that the way she has shared intelligence on the various Islamic militant groups with India, she has given enough proof that, she is India's most trusted ally.
But under Sheikh Hasina, Bangladesh also does not want to be solely dependent on India. And when it comes to offering deals, China is never far away. Bangladesh purchased 2 submarines from China at a reportedly very competitive price of $24 billion. The deal was inked in 2013, but Delhi's hackles were certainly raised when the first submarine got delivered in November 2016.
Hasina wants to reduce Bangladesh's over-dependence on China for buying arms and ammunition. There is a secret agreement which Ziaur Rahman had signed with China, under which China was to provide Bangladesh with all kinds of, it will be a captive market and China will use it for dumping its obsolete weapons, which it has been doing so far. This defense cooperation agreement that Hasina is going to sign with India will ensure that, Bangladesh has another source of buying defense equipment and armaments, that is India. But Bangladesh, she's also, there is a kind of a fear psychosis that India also sells a lot of arms to Myanmar, that these arms might be used against Bangladesh by the Myanmaris. I think that is somewhat misplaced. The fear is not as real as they think it to be.
3 years after the birth of Bangladesh as an independent nation, its then Prime Minister Sheikh Mujibur Rahman had signed a land boundary agreement with the then Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. Its aim was to exchange enclaves that lay in each other's official territories and simplify the international border between the two countries. But the very fact that it took over 4 decades for a revised version of this agreement to be adopted is a telling comment on the way the relations have developed between the two nations. Meanwhile, the water disputes still remain unresolved.
The problem is that the water is so, quantum of water available in the lean season is so poor that, we have to think of some other solutions to augment the flow during the lean season. So it's not that it is nothing, the problem is not insurmountable, but then there has to be a kind of a give and take policy both the countries. But if she is able to get an acceptable solution so far as Tista is concerned, it will vastly improve her electoral prospects. And it all depends on Mr. Narendra Modi's, our Prime Minister's statesmanship and his diplomatic skill to bring around Mamata on an agreement, on an acceptable agreement.
However, in the past few years, there have been encouraging developments on the economic front. Bilateral trade has risen to more than $7 billion between the two countries. The current visit by Sheikh Hasina to India is her first state visit to India in the last 7 years. Post Narendra Modi's Dhaka visit in 2015, the ties have been on an upswing and have only changed the tone and tenor of the relationship for the better. Like her father, Hasina was involved in politics since her student days. She was a graduate of the Dhaka University in 1973, and she had been active in student politics at Dhaka University. Years later, when she was Prime Minister, she once said that being a student also means taking part in student politics. As India got ready to celebrate its 28th Independence Day, across the border, early in the morning of 15th of August 1975, a group of military officers began firing indiscriminately at number 32 Dhanmondi Road, Dhaka. Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the president of the newly created country of Bangladesh, was brutally murdered. Only 2 members of his family survived. His daughters, Sheikh Hasina and Sheikh Rehana, who were in West Germany at that time.
2人のみんな殺されてたんだよね。で、彼女はだからウェストジャーマニーにいたんだよ。な
The sisters had no other option but to seek refuge with the Indian government. They were flown to India and in self-imposed
で、インドに彼女は、亡命したんだよね。
exile, Hasina lived in New Delhi, putting back the pieces of her life. It must have been difficult, but gathering her resources, she fought back till
でも、バングラデシュと、インドっていうのは、パキスタンとインドすごい悪いんだけど、バングラデシュっていうのはもともと東パキスタンでしょ？はい。だけど、そんなに、だから彼女はインドとは関係悪くないんだよね。
うん、なんかそんな感じの。
でも、インドはヒンドゥーで、これイスラムだからね。本来はわけ悪い悪い。パキスタンほどじゃないんだよ。
and her father fought to free Bangladesh.
I have seen her graduating from a timid, homebound housewife, shy housewife, into a cool, calculating politician, and then into a statesman. She's now a statesman.
She's an astute politician, and I think in many respects she's done very well. She's made some mistakes, of course, but she's done very well by and large.
In 1981, Hasina returned to her homeland and was elected president of the Bangladeshi Awami League.
Her life was never completely secure because the people who had killed her father were still in Bangladesh. She had to work.
これね、親父を殺した人がまだバングラデシュにいてね。彼女はね、バングラデシュでそういう親父殺したね、人たちを死刑宣告したんだよ。
Against very great odds, she's been through great trials and come to it very well.
She's a very gutsy woman, I must say, but a lady of tremendous courage of conviction she had. She wanted to get back to Bangladesh and be her father's daughter.
All through the 80s, the 2 Begums of Bangladesh, yet to be forced, were actually working in tandem to bring an end to the military rule in the country. This was the only period when Khalida Zia and Sheikh Hasina, each leading her party, were on the same page. They cooperated with each other closely to bring democracy back to their country. The military dictator, President Ershad, intensified repression to preserve his rule, but failed. Because the joint leadership of Hasina and Khalida was a formidable force, and Bangladesh was seething with discontent. In December 1990, Ershad finally resigned, and an interim government held democratic elections in 1991. In these, Khalida Zia stole a march over Hasina and became Prime Minister.
ハシナ負けてんだ、一回ね。
And her bitterness soon turned to anger when Khalida's government endorsed an existing indemnity law granting almost complete impunity to the murderers of Sheikh Mujibur Rahman. And so began the hostility between the two Begums. So when elections were called for in 1996, Hasina decided to pull all stops to win. In 1991, Sheikh Hasina had lost out to Khalida Zia to win the confidence of the Bangladesh people. So in 1996, during campaigning, she was seen sometimes wearing the hijab, sometimes carrying the prayer beads in her hand, and using these Islamic symbols, she wooed the Islamic majority voters of Bangladesh. Now, it possibly did help her win the elections, and she became Prime Minister. February 2013, something remarkable happened in Bangladesh. There was widespread agitation against Islamist parties. Now, this was the first time that in a Muslim majority country, in a populous Muslim country, the population was agitating against Islamist parties. And hundreds and thousands of people came out on the streets against fundamentalism. The youth of Bangladesh rallied in support of the policies and direction that the Sheikh Hasina government had chosen for the country. Hundreds of thousands of demonstrators massed at an intersection in capital Dhaka. Led by the youth and fueled over social media, they were demanding the death penalty for those who committed war crimes during Bangladesh's bloody battle for independence. More than 4 decades ago.
Her government failed to act decisively in 2012, 13 or 14 when these attacks took place on the so-called bloggers, secular bloggers or non-secular bloggers or anyone, the foreigners and other people. When it came to foreigners, yes, they tried to be hyperactive, the government officials and police, but when it came to bloggers, the actions were not that decisive. At least she was not seen, or at least her government was not seen to be very serious about it.
In 2010, Hasina's government set up a court that it called the International Crimes Tribunal to finally bring to justice those accused in the massacres that took place in 1970-71. In her second stint as Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina had the mandate to follow through on a demand that was close to the hearts and minds of millions of her country people.
Incumbency was a strong factor then, but also Khalida Zia proved to be not a very effective Prime Minister, and in socio-economic matters, I think the public really wanted a change of government.
In 1996, when Hasina became Prime Minister for the first time, Bangladesh had just seen one democratically elected government after a 2-decade-long military rule. Khalida Zia's stint as Prime Minister had been mired in controversy and corruption. Hasina needed smaller parties to support her cause, so her first stint had to do more with compromise and building on her secular credentials, something which did not win her the elections that came 5 years later. The Bangladesh National Party won, and Khalida was Prime Minister again.
よくあんだよね、これ。汚職でね、濡れ衣。
2004, there was a grenade attack that killed 24 and injured more than 300 people. Sheikh Hasina had just finished giving a speech. She was seriously injured, but alive. Years later, she even accused Khalida Zia of having been behind the attack. But in 2004, what it did was it sort of swung the sympathy towards Hasina and her Awami League, and the electorate started turning towards her.
すごいよね。すごいですね。さっきのおじさんが言ってた通りで、ね、エリートのための国で命かけてやってる。
What followed were protests, strikes, political unrest, fear, and a sharp increase in violence. An uncertainty rose over who would head the interim government after Khalida's government came to an end in October 2006. In 2007, Hasina's Awami League and 18 other smaller parties declared they would boycott the general elections of January 2007. The animosity between Sheikh Hasina and Khalida Zia was greater than ever. The Battle of the Begums, as it was called, had peaked. A state of emergency was declared, and Lieutenant General Moinuddin Ahmed took over. Political activity was prohibited, and an arrest warrant issued for Sheikh Hasina. On 16th of July 2007, Hasina was arrested at her home and taken before a local court in Dhaka. She was accused of extortion and corruption charges relating to her time in office from 1996 to 2001. Denied bail and held in a building converted into a jail on the premises of the National Parliament, Hasina denied any crime and claimed the arrest was a conspiracy to expel her from politics.
Charges of corruption were brought against both Sheikh Hasina and Khalid Zia and other senior political leaders, and also some of the top business leaders in Bangladesh in 2007 and 2008. Some of these charges were thrown away by the courts because of lack of evidence. The prosecution couldn't do their job properly, and in some cases the charges were absolutely false and baseless. And even in some cases where charges were deemed to be genuine, the prosecution just couldn't prove it in the courts.
Hasina spent close to a year in custody before the Dhaka High Court stopped the trial. She was released on medical parole and left for the USA. On her return towards the end of 2008, her countrymen gifted the Awami League a landslide victory, handing her the mantle for the second time. Part of the reason for the victory was the Awami League's promise to bring justice to those responsible for killing hundreds of thousands of civilians in 1971. It had been barely 2 months since the Hasina government had taken power when it was seriously rattled. The lower ranks of the Bangladesh Rifles mutinied, and for several hours it seemed that a coup was being attempted.
クーデターね。でもこれは成功しなかった。
4 persons, including 57 army officers, were killed in the abortive mutiny at BDR's Dhaka headquarters. Sheikh Hasina, however, managed to overcome the crisis.
Overcome.
And over the years, came out stronger. Hasina won the elections again in 2014, and her Awami League got a majority because most of the opposition boycotted the elections. But like before, Sheikh Hasina Wajid became Prime Minister of a coalition government, a government that is striving to give Bangladesh a secular identity, like the one that was envisaged by her father when Bangladesh rose from the ashes of East Pakistan.
Awami has long been described as a left of the center political party, but of late, one would be tempted to say that it's no longer even a centrist party. It's veering to the right. The recent changes in the textbooks and her hobnobbing with the right, trying to appease the section of the right, not all the right settlements in this country have section on the right, but taking the party to the right, more to the right than to the left.
もう終わりかな。
Bangladesh is the proof that the two-nation theory that partitioned India was flawed, and on Sheikh Hasina rests the hope that she will steer the third most populous Muslim country away from its fundamentalist aberrations.
終わりだな。これさ、聞きにくいんだけど、バングラデシュとかインドとかパキスタンって英語少ないの。こういう YouTube 少ないの。英語探すのすごい大変なの。
何語ですか？
バングラデシュ語。
バングラデシュ語
うん。こういうみんな、こういうの
すごいですね。なんか、命がけ。
ですよ。これだから、インドもそうだけど、これみんな命がけ。例えばこれなんか、多分ね、英語じゃないよ、きっと。あ、これブータンじゃない？ほら。みんなこんなさ、これブータンはさ、2ヶ月後に2ヶ月後にやるんだけど、来月やるんだけど、俺調べたら世田谷区の人口と同じなんだよね。
ブータンですか？
ブータン。これは1億6000万人いるけど、ブータンって世田谷区ね。小さい国。これはだからさ、今のこのハシナのやつは、命がけなんですよ。これでもう時間来たから終わるけど、ちょうどいいや、今日バングラデシュ前がよかった。これ BPO で今すごい力入れて毎年大きなイベントで、僕はこれで2015年の時の、あれは、ゲストスピーカー。
Welcome to BPO Summit 2015 Event Highlights. The summit arrangement started with signing out the agreement with Bangladesh ICT Division on September 2015.
これね、ICT ディビジョンのね、ミニスターって優秀なんですよ。
The steering committee for the summit has been selected with members from both ICT Division and BACO.
やっぱりこういうとこってエリートのための、エリートが国を治めてるんですよね。
With campus activation program, the event was started when 14 universities had been covered with more than 7,000 attendees. The male-female ratio is 60 and 40%, where almost 15,000 CVs have been collected. Among them, 239 students have been recruited. There are 9 BPO organizations where the recruitment process is related. They are Digital, SSO, Virgo, ISSO, My Outsourcing, Picotech, and Genex. Some glimpse of the spirit.
একজন শিক্ষার্থী হিসেবে কোনো একটি প্রতিষ্ঠানে চাকরি করতে পারা অনেক বড় একটি বিষয়। বিপিও সামিটে অসংখ্য ধন্যবাদ আমাকে উপস্থিত করে দেওয়ার জন্য।
During the event, the recruitment partner was Detroit.com and IT partner was Amra. The event was sponsored by ADM Group, Genex, Summit, Cisco, NRBC Bank, Bangladesh High Tech Park Authority, Airtel, Teletalk, Amra, and Fiber at Home. The website of BPO Summit got 11,500 hits from more than 60 countries with a social media reach of 2.6 million in Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The event was covered by all daily newspapers. And a talk show with a few featured programs has been arranged by 8 top TV channels of the country, along with a radio program in 2 popular FM radio stations. More than 25 billboards were set up around the city to reach the audience. Mr. Shojib was enjoyed. ICT advisor of the Honorable Prime Minister has inaugurated the summit on 9th December.
আজ আমাদের আউটসোর্সিং এর বিপিও সেক্টরের আয় হচ্ছে $100 মিলিয়ন। এটা $1 বিলিয়ন ক্রস করবে।
There were 13 seminars, more than 70 speakers, and 6,000 registrations where 3,000 audience have attended the seminar. The glimpse of the stage.
これ今の俺いたの左に。
Many well-known speakers were available during the summit. International speakers from 11 countries have also participated in the event.
あれ戻れないんだ
During
こ
the
れ。
closing ceremony, Mr. A.H.A. Mustafa Kamal, Honorable Minister of Planning, had the closing speech of GPL Summit 2015. That's not the end. After GPL Summit, Disabled Recruitment Program has been launched and total 20 disabled persons have been recruited in different big units.
これさ、ここにいる。
Many well-known speakers were available.
এটা $1 বিলিয়ন ক্রস করবে।
There were 13 seminars, more than 70 speakers, and 6,000 registrations where 3,000 audience have attended the seminar.
こんないっぱい出たの。これ。
お、本当だ。
これ見せたかっただけ。ということで。
2015年 ?2 年前ってことですか？
2015年の12月。ということで今日は終わりです。で、これは、どうやって終わるのかな？あれ？いつも困るんだよね。これ終了のサインがわかんないんだよな。あった。これだ。